So the way I typically start a VOD session is by asking the student if there's anything that they were doing, that their team was doing, or that the enemy team was doing that was giving them particular trouble.
That was giving us trouble.
Giving you in particular trouble, or your team.
I don't think there was something specifically, maybe.
Okay. If you don't remember anything, that's fine. I don't expect a huge self-analysis, but if you've put any thought into it, it's good to know. I think
I don't think there was like anything specifically that gave us trouble. It was just, if that makes sense.
it was just what?
It's either we kill them first or they kill us first, something like that.
Okay, so I'll help you kill them first, I guess. I think the biggest thing that you didn't mention is like the whole the difference between a low GM and a high GM D.Va with the single playstyle versus multiple playstyles.
It was just something I picked up from. You explained it. Basically, low GM has like one single playstyle and they adapt much quicker.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I'll try and figure out what you said that you play a reactive D.Va, which I've scrubbed through the VOD a tiny bit, as in like I went to one spot, second point, and I sort of agree. I'll see if I can help you figure out. Actually, wait, I figured I should ask, what rank are you in this VOD? Is it because I see the 4230 average, but what are you at?
I'm. You can see my rank here at the very end. I was like 4130, something like that.
Okay. So I wanted to see whether you're on the upper end of the average or the lower end.
Lower end.
So at this point, once the Winston jumps on you, we'll go backwards a bit. So you're low on DM, right? At this point, you can't DM because you're low on it and you've been using it to save your team. But when Winston jumps on you, that's when you have to switch from being the passive protective D.Va to being the aggro D.Va. So when he jumps on you, you should micro missile him like you do, and once he starts escaping, you can boost to follow him. Yeah, you can chase and secure this kill, because if you killed that Winston, then their push would be seriously slowed down. At that point, I wouldn't have boosted him. I would have just waited outside of his bubble, because boosting him doesn't accomplish much other than just pushing him into these boxes. If you can use him, because he's used leap to engage onto you, if you can use your boop to knock him back off, then that's basically the same as killing him back here. Anything to get him out of the fight is always a positive in this case. And since you use boost offensively right here to deal a little bit of damage, you won't have it as an escape tool if your team ends up losing the fight, so you can't disengage now. You've committed a lot to this Winston, and you haven't gotten as much value out of it as you possibly could.
Yeah, I got noted here.
At what point do you start getting like... Okay, so you get discorded, you peek, and you just get deleted. You can say don't peek, but you were trying to secure a kill. It's fine, I guess. I'm surprised he didn't try and stagger you. He totally could have, but the fight wasn't really hardcore one on their part yet. While you're in death cam, I suggest swapping between who you're watching. Watching your Ann is fine, but if you watch your Mercy or your Winston or anybody else on your team, you can get a little bit more awareness as to what's going on. You can see who's getting damaged. You can see who on the enemy team is likely to be popping off to get their ult sooner, etc., etc.
Okay. I never really thought of that.
It's a really micro thing, but a lot of people just flick through it because you can get a lot of awareness from it. Like at this point, what this monkey was doing was pushing you guys away from payload. You could have, if you wanted to, try and contest, but it seems like your team wasn't willing to commit with you, so just like letting him feed a bit is fine. At this point though, it seems like he kind of got flustered when monkey jumped on you. Like, you can't really DM a monkey, so unless you're trying to DM your team during the monkey spam, I would have suggested saving it while you could. When monkey jumps on you, what are you gonna say?
DM a little too much sometimes.
Yeah, it seems like you're throwing out your DM a little too aggressively. It's sort of like, I don't know, think of it more of like as a deflect if you play Genji at all. Use it to like absorb big things, but if there's poke damage, think of it as them baiting out your DM rather than you just using DM for what you want. Because if they're able to get most of your DM down by just poking at your team, then if they had like a Reaper or whatever who decided to ult, or like a Tracer's going in for a Pulse Bomb, you couldn't eat that. And if you're not eating like valuable ults, then you're kind of missing part of DM's value. I'm not saying you need to try and eat every single ult. Obviously, it's nice if you can, but it's not reasonable to expect that all the time. But you should try and use it to protect from higher impact things.
That's true.
Also, this ult, this is the part where I skipped to. This is the exact moment that I saw.
I feel like my ult usage has been going downhill recently for some reason.
Yeah, so the thing with D.Va Bomb is it's super telegraphed and it's super predictable. So you need to either use that to your advantage or play around it to the point where it's not a disadvantage, right? So you can send it straight out like this, but where it lands, does it get anybody? Okay, so it doesn't. The reason it doesn't get anybody there is just because
it could be maybe used to zone out the enemy so my teammates could secure kills that way. While the enemies might be on a corner or something like that.
If you're going for a zoning D.Va Bomb, that's totally fine. That's one of the uses where you're using the advantage, where you're using the fact that it's super telegraphed as an advantage. But where you end up putting it is basically if you look at it from a top-down view. Let me see if I can get a good image of it real quick here. Right here, basically. So your D.Va Bomb ends up back here, which means that they don't really have to sacrifice much to like avoid it. Or I think it ends closer to right here. Doesn't really matter. The point is that there's all of this and the payload to hide behind. But if you manage to, basically you want to throw it up in the air and get it to detonate above everything so that they can't hide behind it as much, you know? I don't really know how I can explain that, but if the D.Va Bomb's right on top of this thing...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, they can't use it as cover. So, like, I'm not saying you should Poco Bomb everything, because that's, you know, a lot of time investment.
The cover.
Yeah. Try and get it to detonate in midair if you can, is basically what that boils down to. Yeah, like in this case, that was a lot of DM on a Tracer, or on a... Was that the baby D.Va up there?
The stagger.
Yeah.
So she wouldn't get her mech by my teammates killed her.
Was that the enemy Pulse Bomb? Yeah, that was. Where did... What? Okay. I was confused because why you saw the Pulse Bomb notification. But you guys have them stopped at a really good spot. Like... Good call out letting them know. Boosting up here. If you let your team stay up here, and you know Tracer's in the stairwell... If you go in from this bottom area, you then trap her in the stairwell, and there's nothing she can do unless she decides to face you, like down here, or face your team up top. So you have her pinned, right? If you go up top, you're keeping her off of your team, but you're playing like the more passive. You're playing the reactive D.Va, right? If you want to play an aggressive D.Va and make plays, like you said, you want to go in and then make the play on this Tracer rather than just kind of force her away.
Tracer going top. And then I just kind of ignored her.
She's not your main focus, sure, but like during this whole time, you're not really contributing much to anything. Like once you boost up here and like basically force her away, how many seconds is it? It's like 5 or 10 where you don't contribute much until now.
I guess whole fight I didn't really do much.
Yeah. Let's see if this D.Va Bomb's a better example. You don't really look at it, but this was a D.Va Bomb similar to yours, right? She's banking on the fact that you guys are all going to be back here for some reason, and it lands like on the ground and detonates, and I don't know if it's going to kill anybody, but it really shouldn't, because that was a poorly like she used her bomb without enough information to make value out of it. Like if she talked to her team or did anything to know that your team was all around here and up on the equivalent of this high ground, she wouldn't have thrown it all the way over there. Like that's all over the place, you know? And like this is a good example of showing what it looks like to the enemy team when you throw out your bomb willy-nilly. Yeah, she doesn't get anybody, that's good. I think your Mercy was low, who was on you. What do we get? Oh, Sako's following. Thanks, dude. Sako, pay attention. You can learn something. So, when you're going for baby D.Va, like, plays, I guess, you can go for the D.Va to get your mech back faster, but this Tracer's not really paying attention to you.
The fight was just lost, to be honest.
The fight's lost, but like you have the potential to dink this Tracer to death, and if you dink this Tracer to death, then like that's huge because like your baby D.Va, whatever, the fight's lost, but you're at least staggering her. Like I don't know, there's potential for you to kill her, not a high potential, but you know, if you chipped her down more, your team could have capitalized. It's not likely, but you know, once the fight's lost, it's not as important. What you do before the fight's lost is more important. So I'm not gonna place too much emphasis on it. Hey Sako, it's D.Va. Is there a problem, officer?
Let's go. Can you go? Thanks.
Did you hear the other D.Va like up to your right?
Well, after watching the video, I did, but I don't know if I heard it while playing. Ignored it for some reason. I don't know.
Okay, cause
I don't really remember.
Okay, so does your Winston jump in with you? Okay, so he does. You follow your Winston. I don't know who your Winston's going for, but ideally he should be going for this Ana with you. So you're making the right choice here. But if the Winston's not going for the same person you are, it's best if you can help your Winston, because two people focusing one person will, you know, it'll end them a lot faster, and then you can move on to the Ana. Whether your Winston does or not is a totally different question. Thanks, Nasty.
Winston after this dive, but on the Ana. I tried to join the Winston after the dive on the Ana. D.Va put me in there.
Oh, so he's going for Zen, okay. Yeah, so if you went with this Winston, like, you're sort of playing follow the leader, right? Like, that's okay, but if you're playing follow the leader, right? Like, this is your leader, you follow them, they're going somewhere, that's okay. But as soon as you deviate from the leader, then you're not really following the leader at that point, and then you followed the leader enough to where you could have been in a good spot, but you deviated at the point where you're now in a worse spot. So by going for this Ana, when you dive in with him, like, A, the Zen lives long enough to eat up a ton of your Winston's time. B, wait for it. B, Ana lives. C, your mech gets super low here. You don't disengage with your boost early enough. We'll wait for when you have it. You have boost here. You're half, your mech's half, you've got boost. I would use it to get up with your Winston, but instead you wait, DM, and shoot a bit. It's like, I get that in the moment, you won't always have like the right decision in mind, but right there, it's super clear to see you going between, do I DM and fight, do I shoot and fight, or do I disengage? You went from, do I play offensively, defensively, or super defensively? And you either need to be more confident in your default, either like, because it seems like your first instinct was to stay and fight it. So you either need to be more confident with it and set yourself up in situations where you can better capitalize on it, i.e. having more defense matrix, having boost a little bit earlier, etc. Or you need to be more confident in switching between your default, which in this case would be aggression, and your plan B, which would be disengaging, because this deliberation time is what gets you demeched.
Yeah. I think the main problem here with this whole play is the Winston went for a dive, but I don't know if he actually called which target is diving, so I just followed him, but he jumped a little further than it's with my boosters.
Yeah.
So I had to walk behind him awkwardly. And if he had called the Zen, and if I had seen the Zen, I would have probably approached it maybe differently. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I would have known that he was out of my boosters range.
Yeah, if he communicated with you and you had better like coordination, that obviously would have made the play better. But assuming that you still don't get any in the future, you should be aware of where your Winston's diving, which in this case was the Ana, which is fine. But as soon as you realized he wasn't on the Ana, you committed your boosters and your micro missiles to her. Like, I think almost at the same time as Winston like passed her up. Let's see.
he's
Yeah.
gonna go for the Zen, but I didn't see the Zen, so I thought he was a lot closer than where he actually was. So that's where I screwed up, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You overcommitted the Ana, which wasn't the target that you guys were both meaning for. It was an error in communication between you two, and it was an error in play on, I think, your Winston's part and your part. Like, I think the Winston should have gone for the Ana, just because, you know, if he did along with you, and if he called that, you would have killed her and it would have been fine. Then you could have moved to the Zen. But, you know, you can try and initiate that sort of communication by asking him, like, hey, Winston, like, as soon as that happens and you're like, dude, we would have done a lot better if you called your target. If you just ask him, can you call your dives? Like, I don't know if he will, but just trying to initiate that is going to benefit you a ton.
Yeah.
This is one of those cases where your DM isn't doing as much as you think it is, because your team, they can just play this corner. Like, they can play this corner, they can play the payload. All you're DMing is basically some Zen spam and some D.Va spam and some Tracer spam. Like, all you're doing is really saving yourself here, which, since you're presenting yourself basically spread eagle on the payload towards the enemy team, you could save yourself a lot of hassle by playing the corner and playing the payload like your team should be doing. That way, when they do dive, you'll have DM to, like, save actually, to, like, eat important things, like this pulse bomb that Tracer might have, or, you know, anything.
Positioning kind of mistake.
Yeah. Let's see where the bomb lands.
Left side, left side.
I can't tell where that lands. I don't throw out D.Va bombs very often, but...
It landed right where they were standing, like in the middle.
Like right here-ish? Yeah, okay, so...
where the, like, red light begins.
Like right here?
Somewhere over there.
Okay, that was one of those times where, if you look at the
I
fight...
was just trying to zone off.
Yeah. I'll explain why it was a little bit oof in a second. So notice how you're going for this. You're telegraphing it by flying up. That's obvious. But at the same time, the enemy hasn't committed anything to this push. And so you're zoning them, sure, but it's sort of like using your D.Va bomb to keep them in spawn. It's like, yeah, you'll buy a few seconds, but you're not gaining anything other than that time, you know? If they committed an ult and then they can't use it because you're zoning them out, that's good. Like, if they use Lucio speed boost and your Hanzo dragon cuts them off, that's good, because now they can't speed boost in and they have to either wait for speed boost for some reason or push in without it. That way you're gaining an advantage of time and in commitment from the enemy team. Here, you're only gaining time.
Can we go inside? He's left side, left side. Where's he? Guys, main, no?
Welcome back, casual. So again, you go for the DM on the D.Va when she dives in, which I'm glad you don't try and DM the Genji blade. That's good. I've seen D.Vas do that. It's unfortunate, but hey, we'll get that done. Thanks for the sub, Catalyst. I appreciate it. You can watch the D.Va play. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the DM of the Genji blade. I'm glad you're not doing that, but you do DM the D.Va as she's DMing you, which, like, if you look at her health, right? I think you realize it, which is why you stopped DMing. But if you look at her health and you compare it to yours, if you just start shooting her, you win. Like, oh, okay. The double nano. Okay. So in this case, you want to use your DM pretty much as you're doing to protect your team from the nano D.Va. But while you're doing that, you also need to pay attention to everything else that's going on. You can't just tunnel vision her. I don't know if you end up doing that, but...
I ended up just tunnel visioning the D.Va.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. That's why I said that before I unpause. It's like, if you notice... This is the thing that I was waiting to happen. While you're tunnel visioning the D.Va, the Tracer sees an opportunity and sticks your Ana. Which, let's try and watch for when that happens. You're tunnel visioning so hard. You just hear it kind of in the back. I don't know, was it like behind you? Let's see. So your Ana's back, like by the forklift, it seems. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just right behind there.
She's like right there. So by tunnel visioning this D.Va, you've, like... The Tracer will see the two nanoed mechs, like, duking it out, and then it's a free whether she stuck your Ana or not isn't necessarily the point. The point is that she had the opportunity to stick anybody. Could have been your Mercy, could have been your Ana, could have been your Winston, who's like half. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you sacrificed saving your teammates in a huge, crucial play to just, like, have, like, a Gundam battle with this D.Va. Like, at this point, if this fight were going on and you guys both had nano and your nano wore off, and then you did a zoning ult to clear them off payload and scramble them, then you'd be gaining something because they committed nano, they committed pulse bomb. That could have won you the fight. I don't know if you end up losing it or not, but
I would lost this fight.
yeah. In general, though, like your pulse bomb, not your pulse bomb. Sorry, I've done a lot of tracer VODs today. Your D.Va bomb. There we go. Your D.Va bomb before the fight was just letting them know, like, hey, I have bomb, and hey, now I don't have bomb. Hey, thanks for subbing, Casual. Did you figure? I don't know. Did you figure it out? I appreciate it, dude. You didn't have to. You said you'd give it to me, but you didn't have to. And don't feel obligated. So what?
Building the D.Va, should I have just stood back, or where should I have positioned myself?
During the like Nano D.Va fight? Or what do you mean?
When I got nanoed and started tunnel visioning the D.Va.
We'll go back to it so we can use it as our example. So you're nanoed. You guys both have armor.
Yeah.
You don't want to end up taking this fight, so you basically need to play D.Va the exact same as you would otherwise. Don't necessarily target her. Either play aggressive and target somebody to use your nano to kill them, or treat nano as the health boost that she potentially gave it to you for. Let's see. It looks like she just popped it on you just cuz. But you need to just be more aware of your team. Where you're at right now is pretty much fine. Like whether you're right here or right here doesn't really matter. You just need to pay attention to what you should eat with your matrix, because you have it. That's good. The Genji Blade's going off. I'm glad you're not DMing that, but the fact that Tracer hasn't really pulsed anybody yet should be a red alert for you, so you should listen for blinks. You don't even really have to peel that hard. You don't have to commit to just DM them. You can do like a 180 DM and then just go back to the D.Va. Just, you know, tunnel vision is fine in this case, but tunnel just a little bit less.
Get it, yeah.
So your positioning is fine, it's just the target priority.
Yeah.
Like at this point you're just eating Genji spam and you're halfway down already. Eating Genji spam's like important for him not to get blade, but like, you know, if you just played this corner more,
was behind the corner, yeah.
Yeah, like you're basically playing the corner right, but you're peeking just a little bit too far and then using your DM to just make up for you poking too far. Like you can basically head glitch like in Call of Duty if you want to. Interesting. So I was gonna say, good job not using your boost until Genji dashes. That's crucial, because if you used boost before he dashed and he just dashed away, you would have felt like an idiot. So props to that. However, when he dashes, you can like, okay, so you do chase him sort of. Okay, you did it on the game. Good. I was gonna say you could melee him as you're boosting. I only say that because in 2020 hindsight.
I actually thought about melee killing him, but my sense was a little too low.
What sense do you play on?
4000 EDPI.
Okay, so normal basically.
Yeah, it's normal, but
yeah,
it's relatively new for me. I used to use a little higher.
Oh.
Better for me, as far as tracking goes.
It's like right here. Watch how you're using your DM. All your Tracer's doing is poking at your Genji, who's in the stratosphere right now, so she's not contributing anything, and you've lost like 60% of your DM just to that. If I were playing that Genji and I'd like see my D.Va doing that, I'd be like, dude, you don't need to. Like I'm fine. I can handle that on my own. It's sort of like Ryan shield. Like if he's trying to shield, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't really think of one. If he's trying to shield a Tracer poking from a mile away instead of the Reaper that's on payload with us, like he doesn't need to do that. That's not his job. So like now, so they nanoed this Genji. He doesn't have blade, it seems. They're doing that so he gets blade faster. This is when it's okay to eat his shurikens, because you're basically negating nano with your DM. That's a good trade for you. And it's delaying his blade. It's sort of like eating a fire strike. Like they're doing that to give him blade. There he goes. So if you ate those shurikens, it could have potentially delayed his blade long enough to where he couldn't have bladed at all. Or if he did blade, he wouldn't have had nano for it. Well, I mean, I guess you baited out Winston ult. I was gonna say you probably could have killed him, but it seems like he was committed to it.
Yeah. I was trying to kill him, but
Nah.
we ended up killing him.
Oh, dude, he's so dead. Please. Please?
Monkey one.
Okay, good.
Go Zen, go Zen. Yeah.
See, this is one of the times where if you wanted to use an ult to, like, pressure them off, during trance is a pretty decent time because everybody thinks they're safe. And if you throw out your D.Va bomb, it'll force them into cover. It's just like what you're doing on last point, but you're wasting trance in exchange for your bomb rather than just wasting their time. It's like you already committed, I think, Blade to it, so he got value out of it. But like now that they're pushed back, now you don't want to. Now you don't want to ult, you know?
Go back.
Okay, good backup. Are you setting up here for a bomb? Is that the plan?
Now we're just counter diving basically.
Okay, so you just said going. I don't really know who he's going for.
He called a specific target. We just jumped, I guess.
So your trade's just popping off. Again, you focus the D.Va. You could be focusing squishies. I suggest focusing them just because you don't deal a whole lot of damage if you're anything further from like point blank. So, like popping into the enemy D.Va, you can do it to waste her DM. But if you pop into squishies instead, then you're increasing the chance that they'll die to your DPS. Like if I'm playing Genji and our D.Va's like diving on somebody with me, and she starts shooting the D.Va instead of the Mercy I'm on, like, oh, I'd be so uncomfortable with it. It's like if you pop even a few shots into him, that'll make it so much easier. Interesting. Probably the right choice to just ignore the Winston. If you think about who to DM and who to engage on, if it's the scenario of you want them to die, you can kill them, and you can DM them at the same time, like that's like the three like holy grails, right? If it's Winston, you can't kill him very quickly, you can't DM him, and like he's not a super high priority target for you, so you shouldn't really like you disengage there, which is good. Like you don't, he's wasting your time, right? He's wasting your time. He's potentially wasting your DM if you reactively DM, but if you go down and dive with your Winston on somebody, that's a better use of your time. Like Winston's almost trying to prevent you from doing that, and the fact that you're ignoring him is good. Yeah, I was just about to say you can throw a bomb here to force him off.
I think I use it too early, basically.
Yeah, you use it kind of at a weird time because right now, if you wanted to, you could pop it like in this doorway area to force him off of it completely. Winston's committing his ult to it, which you don't know at this point, but in hindsight, like, you know, this bomb would have been worse. But you use it like just in the middle zone. Putting it right here would potentially force them from even ticking overtime. Waiting a little bit longer in overtime would force them to commit more, so you actually get more value out of it.
I think my thinking here was just their Winston is ulting, so he can't use his bubble. So
I mean, yeah, but like if you look at who's here, there's no
Yeah,
enemies to even bomb. There's no enemies for him to protect.
So I basically screwed up.
Yeah, targeting the nanode monk or the nanode Genji again, not your first priority. You're not gonna deal a whole lot of damage to him. It's better to go for somebody crucial, like if you can dive on their Zen, for example, like just anybody that isn't like he already gets your Ana, and this Mercy looks like she's gonna GA over. Like, does she? Okay, so you've got both your supports down. Disengage at this point. I wouldn't like stick with him. It's like you sort of delay right here, and you see how like you're sitting here DMing as you're walking backwards, because you don't have booster, because you use it to chase down the Genji. Like, if you had played, this is one of those times where the fight was lost. Yeah, they committed a lot to this fight. If you just backed up, then you would have had a chance to reset. Like, if you have the chance to reset with your team, I don't know if they're gonna push all the way. It looks like you have one fight left, but the fact that you're gonna be absent for part of it is gonna really hurt your team.
We have to touch. Go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you backed up, you could at least touch. Like, you could at least get OT. Like, that's unfortunate, but you could have played the situation to the point where you wouldn't have had to worry about it. Again, this is one of those times. Watch your Genji. And I'll see if you can point out what I'm going to talk about. Figure it out?
He's deflecting?
Yeah, he's deflecting, and you're DMing what he's trying to deflect. So you're using your DM to negate his deflect, which is anti-synergy. If you let him deflect the D.Va into herself or the D.Va's micro missiles or whatever he's expecting her to use, then he's getting ult charge, he's getting value, he's forcing her back a little bit. But in your goal of protecting him, you've like forgotten about what his goal actually is. Genji's pretty independent for the most part. Like having a DM peel every now and then is awesome, but he doesn't rely on you. And at this point, it's sort of like if you're deflecting and Zarya bubbles you, it's like, oh man, really?
Basically, I spam DM way too much.
Yeah, you spam DM a lot. It hurts your positioning because you think DM keeps you safer than it actually does. It's basically your playstyle revolves around DM way more than it should. Not only that you just use it too often, but you build your playstyle around it.
That's actually a good way of looking at it.
So like that whole fight, you were just kind of bouncing around payload. You didn't really contribute to anything in a meaningful way. And it seems like you were splitting your interest between everybody. So if you can't decide who to go for, that's fine. But just make a decision. Whether it's the right or wrong one isn't your biggest concern now. You just need to make something. Because that whole fight, you were just kind of chillaxing. No progress was being made, really. You weren't contributing a whole lot. At least, like, you weren't feeding super hard, but you kind of were. Like, I don't know, just pick something to go for.
Matrix management and decision making.
Hang on, I gotta check something. What do you mean? I'm checking chat and people are saying the video is unwatchable. Are you saying the Twitch stream is unwatchable? Is it like is it so Casual says it, another dude says it, and Faye says it? I'm curious. What does it mean? Ooh, yeah. We're down to like a bill rate of like 2,500. What's up with that? Hang on. That's sketch. Just waiting for you to say. I'm not gonna say stay GM. That's not the point. Like what? What do you think I'm on about, dude? The whole point is to get out of GM into the top 500. Stay there. Stay top 500. Do it.
What?
The Twitch stream is stuttering. Yeah, I can't do a whole lot about that. I guess I don't know what's going on. Just kind of gotta roll with it. So at this point, again, you commit your booster, your micro missiles, and part of your positioning towards this ulting Winston. That's not an effective use of your time and your commitment. Like, if you peeled for your team, like, you didn't, basically, you can just shoot at him, and that's fine, that's good enough. Like, he's out of there. You got your cooldowns back, you dealt some more damage to him, it's fine, but if the enemy team, like, pushed after you committed everything to him, then you would have felt real bad. There's an example of a potentially good bomb, because they've got Trance up, they think they're safe, but, wait, probably have to reset Streamlabs? What? What are you guys on about? Whatever, I'm gonna stop reading checks, they're just confusing me. So anyway, when you place your bomb, right, you place it down here so it forces people away or into here, but if you just pop it like right here, then it can hit people in through this door and through this door, and like, you know, you put it in the most open area possible. If you just flicked up instead of there, it could have potentially hit up here if there's anybody up there. Basically, just don't put it into a corner like that, unless it's a really tactical corner. Hang on, they're telling me to watch stream on the second monitor. Fine, I'll double check it. What's going on? What's the problem here? Christ. Let's see. We'll play it and see what it looks like. I read it. It does like kind of stutter sometimes. Huh. That's weird. God, that's gonna bother me. I'm sorry for the delays, dude. But like, yeah, we're done like 2,500. What is this? We're gonna stop stream and start streaming again. Give that a go. I don't think that affected anything. I'm just gonna roll with it. If they're suffering on stream, whatever. We've got the VOD anyway. Yeah.
Blade.
Unlucker. Alright, so I wasn't really paying attention to what's going on. Let's double check.
Can you nano me?
Genji's sleeping, Genji's sleeping. Genji's sleeping.
This is again one of those points where it seems like you're deciding between a bunch of different things. Like,
Yeah.
watch this fight back again, and you're torn between, do I play aggressive, do I rely on my DM, what do I do? Like, your Genji's going in, there's a bomb there, you almost fly into the bomb.
Genji's sleeping, Genji's sleeping.
You predict a recall fine, but then you're like, do I chase her, do I go back to my team, what, do I go back up? Like, it's, you need to establish what you want to do before you do it, so you minimize downtime like that. Because at this point, like, your playstyle is like, you obviously made it to GM, and that's good, but like, there's still like, the stuff you have to do now is like micro plays. Also, I'm glad you didn't try and DM the bomb. I've seen that a lot too. Like DM a Junkrat tie or something.
I'm not that bad.
I'm just saying, I'm saying the positives too. I don't want to only say negative feedback. Or constructive feedback, I should say. See, there's an example of they committed to the
You're a
fight.
decent bomb.
Yeah, they committed to the fight, you threw it up in the air, they couldn't take cover from it, and you killed 2 people. Boom. You killed Baby D.Va too, so like, your favorite D.Va matchup isn't, like, it's not going to tempt you anymore. The Winston's going to tempt you, I guess, but, you know, he has to get off point for you to push. Tracer is one of those heroes that you don't want to boost into until you've either baited her recall or you know she's used a few blinks. Because if you boost up to her, she can just blink away and kite you, and then you're going to feel really bad. Because especially in this case, because you've boosted away from payload and like towards your team. Wow, I don't know how the Ana got there, but basically you don't want to allow Tracer to kite you. Her goal is to basically bait out your boost, and your goal is to not get your boost baited. You see how you're not using a whole lot of DM and you're just playing this little corner bit? I mean, nobody's really shooting at you, but at least you're not trying to DM the bubble. It's one of those points where you can do it, but you just need to start doing it. Like there was a lot of spam, and you didn't really use your DM. That's fine, because your team isn't relying on your DM at this point. Once you push in, then they're relying on it a lot more, and then it's a lot more important. Like right there, all you were doing was DMing your monkey from another D.Va, and now you're out of DM. So, like you can't eat the high noon now. You might be able to a little bit if you predict it right. You didn't eat the nade.
I think it was pretty low, the monkey.
How low was he?
He got stunned, so he might have died.
Let's see. He got stunned, but he ults. So, like, the whole time you're DMing him before he ults, that's the problem. Like, this time, DMing him. As soon as you see him pop his primal rage, then you're good. Like, then you can let go. But you've still committed too much beforehand. Like, when he was stunned, okay, that's fine. Like, that's when you should be DMing him, because that's important damage. But everything before he's stunned isn't important, or isn't as important, because he was gonna pop it. No idea where the high noon was. I guess just back there.
Yeah, I was looking for it. Yeah, he was upstairs somewhere.
Yeah. There's one of those where your team is already disengaged, like they're out of there, and you throw a bomb just to, like, I don't know, zone or pressure them or something, but it's not a good time for it. If I don't know if you've seen any of my other, like,
That was bad awareness on my part.
yeah, I don't know if you've seen my other streams or VODs or whatever, but the biggest thing that I say probably the most often is just timing. Like, if you perform a play, it can either be god tier or garbage, even if it's the exact same play, just depending on when you do it. Like, if you get a 6K, it can be like, there's such a thing as a bad 6K. Like, I mean, you know, not in a typical sense, but it is possible. Again, at this point, you remember what I said earlier about, like, committing to somebody who you can DM, kill, or is high value? Like, this Winston is way in the back. You can't DM him. Like, he's not your thing. I don't know how he hasn't killed you. Was he reloading that whole time? Yeah, okay. Well, like, you shouldn't have engaged on him. You lost your mech simply because you overcommitted to him. At least you didn't die to the sticky.
He jumped on the Ana, so my intention was basically to push him back with the booster so the Ana could escape.
Which, it worked, but then you stayed committed to him for too long. Like, you can just kind of peace out.
took damage from the D.Va bottom. I thought it was further away, but it was too close.
Yeah, you got hit for like half HP.
Doomfist is 1 HP, Doomfist 1.
Doing a good job of using payload for cover when you're in baby D.Va form. So like, you're standing a good chance of getting your mech back. You strafe in and out of the bubble properly.
I killed the Zen.
Yeah, you kill the Zen with the call mech, rip him. He probably feels really bad. But again, this is a perfect example. Watch your health and watch this D.Va's health. There's the point that I wanted to point out is that anti-nade. You could have eaten that anti, and it would have been huge. Like that anti,
The D.Va.
yeah, like it healed the D.Va, it antied you, like, and you could have totally eaten it. It's one of those things where you want to be saving your DM, or at least paying attention to stuff like that.
I have blade, we have nano blade next fight, they just use strands.
I'm ready to unleash my primal ray.
Yeah, we'll have back. Make a pop. Wait.
Someone is on the
Doomfist is coming top.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, can
You
you
have
go?
6 ult.
I'm on Zen. Oh no, on the left side.
Again, there's one of those times where you already have a fight winning thing. Like you didn't need to throw your bomb there. You'd rather use it. Oh.
Nice, right side.
Oh wow, nice. See, it was 900 IQ. You called your mech in front of the Ana to get her to sleep you to waste time so she couldn't contest. 900 IQ. But no, in reality though, you didn't need to use that bomb. If they got overtime more, like you could have used it to zone them off. Like you're using it to zone more preemptively than you should. Preemptive zoning is a thing you can do, and like you've almost done it in the past, but for the most part, you're popping it way too early.
Yeah.
Oh, you edited it out. I was like, I think I skipped forward one time, and I was like, what? Where'd it go? I mean, DMing a Doomfist, you can. I don't know. Let me see if you got your Mercy with the slam. Maybe. But at that point, you're body blocking enough. You didn't use a whole lot of DM on it. You're going to get it back pretty quick. But, you know. I guess since they're not pushing in, like, after. It's weird that the Doomfist just went straight in, no balls. Like. Again, you've
to get a cheeky pick.
get the cheeky pick, I guess. Like, if you guys weren't ready for it, but he should know better than that. And so you've ripped the D.Va. Like, you're in the right spot, basically. You're forcing people away. They don't have a whole lot of time, so you can afford to be a lot more aggressive, which is good. I'm waiting for your DM again to see.
Just wasted it.
At that, I'm so glad. Somebody clipped that. I'm so glad that I said I'm waiting for the DM. You've got a sleeping teammate that you specifically want them to like poke and wake up. So your mindset should be to DM as soon as they wake up rather than prevent them from waking up. Like, I don't think they have a widow or something. And yes, Master, it is. It's 4150 right now, I think. There's one dude who's like a 4.4k. Like,
Why is ours 4100, but the average of this game is 4200?
yeah, average is 4200. There's a dude who's DMing me, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a 4.4k Junkrat Ryan Brigitte 3 trick," and I'm like, "What on earth?" That'll be fun if they get to me. But anyway, for your DM, you're actively keeping your teammate asleep, and you don't want that. You also don't want them to get like one shot, but they don't have a Widow or a Hanzo or anything that could one shot her instantly. So let her wake up and then keep her alive when she does wake up. Wow, the Hammond pick. Right there, you could have eaten the stick. It's not easy to predict, but because she goes so far forward towards her Brigitte and doesn't blink, like, you know, in 2020 hindsight, yeah.
Just focusing on farming my bomb here, which is why I didn't see the tracer.
Yeah, which, you know, you farmed your bomb, but you didn't get a whole, I guess you can say your bomb pressured them off. I don't think it was the sole cause of it. I think they just got greedy, but, you know, it worked out for you, I guess.
Yeah.
They were stuck in a pretty bad spot for them. Like, they had to come into the tunnel, and that's rough. Oh, see, it's so nice to just skip forward through all that.
You should write that in the the rule section for VOD submissions.
It's not an important thing. If people are watching now and they're able to do that, it's nice, but it's by no means required.
D.Va was pushed the point.
Yeah, right there, you ate a Helix. That's something you want to eat. You don't want to eat like the random soldier spam, but eating the Helix is good.
Double kills, kind
Like eating some Orisa spam, not your biggest concern. Like this kind of DM where there's just everything happening in front of you, that's fine because you don't necessarily know what you're eating, but you know you're eating a lot. That's fine. But if you know what you're eating and it's not a lot, that's not as fine.
Orisa is 1 HP. Soldier top.
I mean, Zarya was low, but she got tunneled. She got pocketed so hard. Like, they call it the Zarya's low, but you can see the Moira going back for her. And you sort of, like, ignore this Brigitte that's right in front of you. Like, at this point, you lost your Ana and your Mercy, like, before you even dove in there. So, like, that fight was pretty much lost already. Like, they got both your healers instantly. So, I would have just backed out. You went pretty aggro for somebody who was called low, but there was a healer on her. So, you know, if you could infer that they weren't going to be low for very long, then you would have been in a solid spot.
Can we jump back top?
Yeah. He's 1 HP.
Okay, so again with this dive, you use a ton of your DM, just like stopping their spam. Like he's right there, you're just DMing a Zarya. Like, again, if you're eating her secondary fire, that's still not very viable. Here, you're committing your missiles before you're actually able to like aim onto somebody. You didn't eat the stun, which is something that you would in theory want to eat. So you should have been DMing as you were cresting this ridge. I mean, I was gonna say you wouldn't know that McCree's up there, but they called diving McCree, so you should know. Okay, we're diving McCree. There's 3 of us. We don't want to get stunned. I'll DM as we land to eat the stun. If you ate that stun, this McCree would have been absolutely deleted, even harder than he already did. Could have eaten Helix there, same sort of thing. I'm not saying you should track Helix cooldown like that, but since you just ate his last Helix, you should roughly know that he's gonna have another one.
Okay, nano me.
A fortified Orisa is, again, not your main target. You're dealing pretty much nothing to her. Like, even though you're headshotting her, she's got her armor, she's got her fortify. Like, that's... You're better off going with whoever your team's diving, which I guess you pressure off, so it works out anyway. But if there's anybody else you could have knocked off beforehand, like, if the Brigitte, who's to your left, stayed on payload, then you would have been wasting time on the Orisa. But, you know, it was basically one of the 2 options, which she ends up chasing too far back. So we'll pause it on the stat screen in case there's anything important to bring up.
Yeah, you can see the stats at the end.
Yeah. Tons of objective time, solid. Weapon accuracy, whatever. Kill streak, whatever. The 3 self-destruct kills is the thing that immediately stands out to me the most. I love the 10 healing done. I'm not going to ask how or why, but...
Yeah, there's more bug or something.
Is it like your mech call or something?
No, when you eat the Moira orb, it becomes yours for a split second, if that makes sense, and you can potentially heal allies.
What on earth?
And also,
okay.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if this bug still exists, but there was a bug that at the very edge of the D.Va bomb, you could actually deal negative damage.
I think they patched that out a while ago. I remember hearing about that. But
okay, never mind.
The 10 healing is obviously your best stat.
It's the more orb stat thing.
Yeah, but the biggest thing is your 3 self-destruct kills. That could totally be higher, just based on your timing of it. You can use it more aggressively, but the biggest thing is just to use it, like, I almost said more smartly, but more intelligently. You want to make sure that you're actually preventing them from getting value on something they already invested, because it's sort of like, you know how teams get steamrolled super hard, like for the first few points of like King's Row or whatever, but they end up having 6 ultimates because they were so steamrolled, and they just take it all back with a few ults because they get ult advantage. it's the same thing. Like, you don't want them to not commit stuff if you can wait for them to commit and then make sure that what they committed then gets no value. Or, like, you know, if they blade their or if they nano blade and you have to force them off of cart in overtime, like, that's huge value because they've got 2 ults, it's overtime, and they can't capitalize on any one of those. So, at the end of the session, I always ask, like, is there anything that you want me to elaborate on that I touched on before? I know I said a lot.
Positioning, so I stop wasting my defense matrix on random damage. Positioning, enemy divas and stuff like that.
Yep. Basically, you're focusing too much on your DM. It's way too integral to your playstyle. You're tunnel visioning the enemy tanks way too hard.
I actually never realized just how much I'm using defense matrix until now, actually. So,
I'm glad I could help with that.
it's a kind of shocking, to be honest.
The more you know, dude. That's what I'm here for. I might not play D.Va at a 4 point whatever K level, but conceptually I could. If I mechanically understood her better, like if I could execute what I know I should do better, then like, boom, good to go. You'll be out of 4.1K in no time, because like everything else you're doing is pretty solid.
That's what I'm hoping for.
You've got a few big issues, and once you fix those, you're good. If you don't have any more questions though, I think you're free to go.
Going like, or like, get picks. I don't know how to ask this. Like basically, when I watch like really top players, like I don't know, Movement, Emong, and stuff like that, I feel like they get a lot more sense.
Hey, thanks for the donation. I'm still pissed it doesn't fix itself.
Proud
God.
of you, Beef.
God, dude. Sorry to interrupt you, but someone donated. Like, I've got a donation thing that like really bothers me. It's the wrong animation. I can't do anything about it. I thought I fixed it today, but I didn't. God. Anyway, we were saying about like you don't know how to get more picks.
I'm saying, should I play more aggro, basically, or is this fine? I don't know how to ask this.
In general, you can play more aggro, but I think it still depends on the situation. If there's a situation where you can play more aggro, you should. Like, especially when you're around debating what to do. Like, that's the biggest one, right? Like, if you don't know what to do...
Asking this is because when I compare my D.Va stats compared to top 500, one thing that's always consistently that my damage is always like average, while theirs is much higher. So I feel like maybe playing aggro enough, or I don't know what the cause is for that.
I think the thing you should work on first is relying less on your DM, and then your damage is going to increase as a result. And then after you've gotten used to not relying on your DM as much, you can then check what your damage is. Because if I say play more aggressive right now, then you'll rely less on your DM and then play more aggressive, and you might end up feeding too hard or something like that. Yeah. So I think you should adjust to the big thing and then see what your stats are at, and then decide whether you need to play aggro or not.
I understand. Stop relying on defense matrix.
Yeah, that is by far your biggest thing.